Hey guys, I'm making this video. It's kind of bittersweet. I sold this valve and obviously it didn't have this error code on it, and when the customer got it, surprise, they installed it and they had error code. So we're gonna figure out what happened. See, now it's flashing blue. So while it was flashing red, there's a few things that I noticed. So the first thing that I noticed was it actually was working in terms of the pilot was working, and also all right, so the video cut out a little bit early. So the valve that I end up selling to the customer, he returns back, as you can see, it had the error code, the code 7, immediately, and then it started flashing blue again. And my only sneaking suspicion is that when I got the valve, I probably actually, I know I did. I refurbished the valve. I checked it all out, make sure it was okay, and it probably had a fault in the circuit board, which I repaired, and it had to cycle a few times to clear itself out. Sometimes the boards, after you repair them, they need to run, for a certain amount of time for them to clear out the fault. And when I was bench testing the return valve, it seemed to work fine on pilot and even switched to burn. So I think, I'm not saying that the customer did anything wrong. They can return whatever they want. It's fine. That's why I accept free returns. It's hassle-free. I did offer to send the customer a new circuit board for them to pop it in, so they didn't have to go through the hassle of changing out a tank. Anyway, long story short, they ended up buying a new tank. They sent me both valves. So this is the customer's original valve that they sent me. And we're going to see what's going on. So anytime I get these valves in, which, let me stop for a second. I really enjoy when you guys send me back your old valves, because then I know there's something wrong with that valve, and I can help you guys fix your problems the more I see these defective valves come in. So we're going to troubleshoot the customer's valve, the original valve, not the one that I sold them, and see what's wrong with it. So the first thing I want to do is I want to test it on pilot. So we're going to push this button, blow some air through it, and we're going to listen, make sure that this button is working. So that's working. If you hear initially, you hear a initial whoosh of air, and then it kind of regulates down to what it should be. These do break. I do have an example of it. Give me 1 second. Alright, so this is a valve body, and this is the pilot. And you're going to see when I blow air through it, it may go for a second, but then it quickly cuts out. Let's have a listen. Take this off. Let's listen carefully. I'm going to hold the button and listen for the pilot. Alright, there is none. See, it went initially, it whooshed, and then it cut out. So it'll start for a second, and then it cuts out. So this valve body is no good, even though the ohms are good. Ohms test good here to here. It clicks, it does everything. But the pilot quickly, it doesn't hold the pilot. So if you're trying to light this thing, it may light for a second, and then it's going to go straight out. This valve body is no good. So That's working, so that's good. Let me pause this and get reset up again, okay? Okay, welcome back. So we got the customer's valve all powered up again. And the first thing we're going to see is he has a blue indicator light. Everything should be good. So obviously not. So we know the pilot works when we push the button. Let's see if we have a pilot now. Very hard to tell. May have to get real close to this. Anyway, let's see if it goes to burn. I don't hear a click. That we should be able to hear better. No. So it seems like we just have a pilot and no burn. Let me just verify that the pilot is or is not working for you guys. Okay, so this one's actually interesting. Probably the customer didn't even get this far if this thing was installed, because it's holding a pilot, but then when I manually override it, let's listen. But when I let go, and obviously we have a flame here, he should have a pilot, gas coming out, and there is none. Have a listen. So it's literally lasting for like 15 seconds, and then it's going out. You hear that? It'll go, and then it cuts out. Let's take this thing apart. My hunch is that the circuit board is faulty. So let's take a look. Let's take a look and see. Okay, so I got the cover loosened up. And it's very important. I pry the back, then you lift straight up. All right. So let's test this valve and see what's up. Okay, so we were pretty much left with, we hold the pilot here, we get gas out. When the circuit board is powered up, we would get periods of gas coming out. So let's turn on the multimeter. Let's see what the deal is. So we got the multimeter powered up. Okay. And see what our ohms are. 11.8 ohms. That's perfect. Okay. Let's come over here. Doing this one hand is kind of tough. 11.4. That's perfect. You want to be around 11 to 12. Somewhere in the middle is perfect. And then we're going to test the two. Together, if I can get it connected. Good, and we got 25. I mean, I don't have a good, see if I get my hand on this thing better. I think we got it there. Good. 23. So we were getting 11.8 and 11.8. That should put us right at 23. So this valve seems good. Let's give it some low voltage and see how it actuates. Okay, so I have my low voltage powered up with my test light. We're grounded. This is the ground post, but I ground to the valve body itself. So that's good. That's good. So the valve body is good. I'm not going to test the temperature sensor in this video. I'll test it off camera. We weren't getting that code. So in this case, the circuit board or the motherboard, control board, whatever you want to call it, that's faulty. We're going to go ahead and remove it and see if that fixes our problem. So we're going to pop this out, remove it with a known good, and that will fix our problem. Okay, welcome back. So I didn't bore you with my one-handed putting the valve back together, but we put a new circuit board in, or a known good circuit board in, and there's a few things I want you to pay attention to. I'm going to first unplug this. I'm going to let it power down. Well, there's two ways you can look at it, right? If your valve body is no good and it's open circuited, then you won't hear any valve activity. But it's something to pay attention to. In this case, when we plug it back in, you're going to hear two clicks. One click, open up the pilot solenoid, and then once I rotate it to a desired temperature, you're going to hear a second click. If you don't hear two clicks, I'm not saying that your control board is faulty, but I'm saying you need to go and investigate the valve body and make sure that you have ohms and you can actuate it with low voltage. So let's pay attention. That was click 1. And there's going to be click 2. That's click 2. Let's see if we have the pilot flame. So the pilot's working. Let's set it to very hot, or just hot, whatever. You hear the second click. So this is actually a rather interesting valve, because again, it wasn't showing an error code. So I would imagine the reason why it wasn't showing an error code, that I just disconnected the power. Apparently 1, 2. Yeah, that's the thermopile. So I can only simulate voltage for so long. So the reason why it was indicating blue was because the valve body itself showed resistance. So if there's an internal fault on the circuit board, remember, in order for it to set the code 7, there needs to be an internal fault on the valve body. One of these pins need to be open, okay, for it to set a code 7, or the board needs to not identify the resistance on this, either one. But in this case, the board was able to identify the ohms, but the board itself was faulty. Any questions, please let me know.